Today's book review, actually it's not a review, it's a conversation about the number 4 and the symbol of the cross. And I have some opinions about it. And that's no surprise, is it? So first of all, how are you? How are you? How are you? I am in a place of transformation. Who isn't? We're going to be having the solar eclipse on the planet somewhere. And so whether or not you get to see it or not, the implication is that the effects are going to be felt around the world, whatever shape it is. Is it a torus field? Is it? So let's talk about the cross. Now here you can see my cross. And I grew up Christian. And when I was, let's see, about, I would say 4th, 5th grade, I took the Lord Jesus Christ into my heart. And in so doing, I then I received a divine intelligence. It filled my body with a gold light. I saw the gold light. I felt the gold light, and then in seconds I received information, and the information I gleaned as a child is that the Christian church that I went to had it wrong. That Jesus Christ on a cross, that symbol which the Catholics love, because suffer is their goal, to create suffering on the planet. Because, there are 2 options on the planet. Suffering is one of them. Suffering is an option. Have you heard that before? So this cross, as you can see, is not with Jesus Christ suffering on it. Okay, so child. I was a child. What does the Bible say about getting to heaven? It is through the innocence of a child, the pure-heartedness of a child, that one actually has access to heaven. Now, life on earth can either be heaven or hell. See how simple it is? It's very, very simple. So I love my God with all my heart, and I am so excited to be in this new place of understanding. And therefore, I am going to share with you these things. The cross was hijacked in order to make this beautiful symbol and power and protection into something that symbolizes suffering. Now, with Catholicism, suffering is not an option. So it's a mandatory. Oh man, Catholicism. I think it's the number 1 satanic thing on the planet, except for all those well-meaning people. And that's what's beautiful about it. But I don't know enough about Catholicism to be able to speak to it other than what I see as a symbol, other than what I've witnessed through people who have been Catholic, who have had guilt complex or whatever, and they have had to overcome things that were programmed into them based on their religion. So, Jesus Christ is not suffering. He's an ascended master. So Jesus Christ ascended. There he is with Mary. Oh, yeah. They had sex. And she was a high priestess of a magi. And she knew about sacred sexuality. And she was not a prostitute. But of course, they had to lie about that too. So, in the south of France, you'll find that they still actually have churches for the Magdalene. Why do you think that is? I don't know. Could it be we've been lied to about his story? All right. So, the transformational shift that I have accomplished is the interest in focusing my intention on my life's ambitions, what my soul came here to do, what my spirit came here to do, and where I place my attention, where I attenuate, where I actually focus. So I will no longer be speaking about world events at all. During the debacle that lasted for 2 years, I spoke about it, and now that we have this other thing that snap your fingers and we've got a new problem on the world, is not something I'm going to address in the least. So you can get that information someplace else. Now the cross is very sacred and holy, and so I think to myself, as a writer of fantasy, semi-fantasy novels, not quite like Paulo Coelho's Alchemist, although I can aspire, but that my novels are based on real-life experiences that embellish with creative nonfiction the experiences I had as a shaman's apprentice and an art student at the University of Arizona in the 80s, and as an exotic dancer. Yeah, I did something like this. I did, and take a look. Here was the picture they took of me. See that? You can't, can you? No. Well, anyway, that was my picture to go on the little board so that the men that came in to stroke off and jerk off at a peep show, they could look at it. And how I came to be there, as somebody who was born in New Hampshire, that was a high honors student, part of student government, voted both 3 things in my senior year: most life-loving, most creative, and most athletic as the female. And the male counterpart, back when it was very easy to discern who was a boy and who was a girl, because we didn't have any PC-ness about that, which I find is funny, but I'm not going to talk about that too much either. But when boys were boys and girls were girls, and they grew up to be men and they grew up to be women, and they either liked each other heterosexually or they didn't. In this case, it was simple. You're either one or the other, or you are going to be another bird that flocks with your type. And all due respect, I have no judgment, and I am glad that people now have their ability to be acknowledged and recognized as, yeah, we can now get married and we can get divorced, and then the courts can allow somebody to have alimony or whatever, and they then will be able to skim that off, because every single time the courts go through something like a child, let's see, what do you call it? They garnish the wages, and then the state makes their cut. They get a commission for managing that, and it's a pretty high one. So yes, y'all are equal under the law. However, that means you're also going to be forced to pay your ex money, and then your state will will skim off some, okay? So it's a financial reason too. It's not just because we're looking at the powers that are like playing with our culture by becoming social engineers. They can now take and put their long arms and sticky fingers into homosexuals and lesbian couples and whomever's diverse people pocket. Okay? Unless you have a prenup. Prenuptials, anybody? So, gosh, there's so much to talk about today. I thought it was just going to be about a cross and the number 4. Well, it's about how we've been social engineered and all the mind effery, and on earth you can make heaven or you can make hell. Suffering is an option, and unless you're Catholic, and then it becomes mandatory. Oh, and here's the other thing as a child. It wasn't a communion or whatever. It's the Eucharist, whatever it is, where they pass out the grape juice and the stale little Wonder Bread cut into cubes. I remember thinking to myself, Jesus didn't offer it up that this is my body. Jesus didn't say that, this is my blood. Because I got the gold light, I got the information. And this is not a station about, what do you call it? Religion or theology. It's my opinion. It's Cat's chat with you. And that I shared with you the information I got from the divine through golden light, and light is frequency and information. Vibration, frequency, information. That's what it is. So as a child, I realized this in a flash. And then I also realized I was always in church and that I have temples. Okay? And that I did not need to go to church, but fellowship and being with other people of like mind creates power. So it can create power to degrade the human through the belief in original sin, which I also believe is a bunch of hogwash and mind effery to confuse the human inhabitants. And it was a mind twist of the reality in order to make people sheeple and easy to manipulate. Because if you feel bad about yourself, you're going to lower your frequency and you're going to be able to be manipulated by the social engineers who are not that bright, but they sure are tricky and deceitful, aren't they? I look at some of my work. This piece here I did on paper. This piece here I did on canvas. That's canvas and that's canvas. And that's my series. These will all be for sale eventually. This is not, and this is not. And I have more. I have this one. This one's beautiful. I am going to talk about the cross eventually. But isn't that beautiful? So these are going to be for sale, and I will eventually put them up, and people will be able to bid on them. And I will then package them up and give them their new home with you. But in the meantime, they're here, and I have to varnish this one. This one here is my latest, and I haven't quite completed it, but there's a lot of details. Can you see that figure there? So I call these portals of infinity to your own divinity. And it's like, is that a wolf? Is that a dragon? Is this a good force? To me, you have to be a dragon slayer. And so to me, this is success. This individual is now moving on to the next place because they've slayed a dragon. Now, the dragon I've slayed is the pathological narcissist personality disorder, which is systemic in our world because of the parasite. So let's read to you from my book. Also, I will reiterate that one can only get to heaven with the heart of a child, and that the purity of a child is how you gain access to heaven on earth. The child and the innocence of the child sees through BS, unless they're programmed, before they can see. And it's very likely, like what happened with me, that if you have a metaphysical experience that is beyond the comprehension of the adults that programmed you, in my case me, then I was able to have insight and knowledge, well, wisdom that came to me divinely. Is it so hard to believe? Is it so hard to believe? Instant knowing? Instant knowing is a thing, people. And I got it. So just like that innocent child who saw that the emperor was not wearing any clothes, I saw through the bullshit of this, because I'm not programmed as much as other people are. But we all have our programming. So let's talk about the cross. And let's talk about how the symbol of Jesus Christ, suffering on it, is a guilty reminder for you to feel shitty about yourself and believe in original sin, which is absolutely crapola. You will, however, have to work off karma and whatever your soul decided was part of your journey as a pilgrim on the path of your life. Because why are you here? Well, to love your life, to love nature, to love your God with all your heart and all your might, all your soul. You know, this, and this. Belly, heart, and mind, all lined up with the kundalini going through. And if you're interested in this, I got this from Sophia Christine. And it is SOFIACRISTINE.com. She makes them. And it comes with a little thingy if you want to go like that. And I'm promoting her because I like her work. And she's out of Port Townsend, Washington State. All right, let's talk about the cross. From this book, Life Magic, I will read what it has to say about the number 4 and all of that good stuff. Here you go. All right, 4 symbolizes the earth and is associated with the planet Uranus. The number is represented by a square because it unites the 4 ends of the cross. However, the following symbols are also used in connection with the number 4. The circle with the quaternary. Here's the square, and there's the symbol with the quaternary. And then we're going to talk about that one, and we're even going to talk about the Occult and the Kundalini serpent that the current medical association stole in order to exploit that as well and turn it into a symbol of drugs as opposed to the body's pharmacopoeia. The circle with a quaternary, the sacred square represents the 4 elements, the 4 corners of the heavens, and the 4 evangelists. Within the square lies the circle of infinity. Thus, the cosmos is contained within the earth, just as the earth is part of the entire cosmos. These are portals of infinity to your own divinity. That's the name of my series. The cosmic cross, which is the one that's going to be even lines, even length lines, both shows the descent of spirit into matter and its ascent. The vertical line represents the active dynamic principle. The horizontal line, the passive static earthly principle. Vertical, yang. Horizontal, yin. Masculine and feminine. We all undergo sacrifice when our spirit enters into the material plane. Therefore, the cosmic cross represents the struggle that we invariably incur during our earthly life as we seek the true way towards spiritual enlightenment. You take a look at my prior videos, I have been very transparent about the suffering I've been through. And yes, as a human, I probably cause suffering to other people. But remember, you can say, thank you, universe, for giving me this pathologically narcissistic person in my life so that I could get a clue. And thank you for allowing me to see that I had childhood wounds that I had to lick and heal. The Christian cross represents the agony and martyrdom of Christ, except for this one, which is sacred. So the Christian cross with Jesus Christ dying on it. Remember, he got off the cross. He ascended. The Christian cross represents the agony and martyrdom of Christ. However, it also represents the innate desire of the soul to ascend toward enlightenment, as well as symbolizing the afterlife. So we go on. I had that direct infusion of wisdom brought into me at a heightened state of ecstasy, drug-free, no alcohol, no nicotine, no anything other than the cosmos coming into me, filling me with light, and letting me know that I am part of God. I am not God. I am part of God. I am God spark. I am a part of the beautiful, infinite love, bliss, and joy, which flows through all things. Now the anchor, and here it is again, right there, and we're going to talk about that one, is the Egyptian hieroglyphic for the key of life and immortality. The circle, so it's a cross with a circle on top, represents the higher planes. However, it is elongated like an oval rather than a full circle, because once the soul enters into the material world, it is no longer wholly divine. We're not. we are connected to divinity. We have an inner divinity, but once we're in the physical world, I wouldn't say we're less than divine, wouldn't you? and then divine intervention is the only thing that saves our butts every now and then. So the serpent in the cross is a very ancient occult symbol. Occult is hidden, meaning it's kept from you and made into the belief and programming that it's evil or something. But it's I think you'll see the serpent in the well, let me just carry on. I don't know what I'm talking about. Delete that. The serpent in the cross is a very ancient occult symbol described in the Old Testament. It demonstrates humanity's need to rise above the nature of desire in order to become one with God. A version of this symbol is used as the emblem of the medical fraternity. A version of this symbol. The sacred square gives form to life, the 4 seasons, the 4 elements, the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 elemental spirits. There are 4 horses. There are 4 horses of the apocalypse, which we are in now, which is the great revealing. The 4 evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The 4 holy creatures who guard the throne of God. Human, which is also air. Eagle, which they're also saying is equated to water. Lion, which is symbolized also by fire. Bull, which is symbolized by the earth. So human, eagle, lion, and bull. And you'll see that in the tarot. There's a circle, I think I forgot what it's called, maybe it's the world. But that in the tarot cards, which tarot is also going to give you a clue about the occult and the things that the parasites did not want you, the human, to know. So they hid them so that you would not find them, which makes them all the more glorious once you do. Anyway, there are also the 4 hollows of Grail, Holy Grail, stone, sword, and wand. Those two are in the tarot, which is cup, pentacle, the sword, and the wands. Magically, the number 4 and its symbol represent will, discipline, and construction. Will, discipline, and construction. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive those who forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Yes, trespass. All of us have violated somebody by saying something stupid. Guilty. And we also have been violated against. But remember, we aren't perfect. That's why we're here. So when you come onto this planet, the best thing to do is to focus on not adding to the suffering, but to focus on the exaltation of the Spirit in alignment with your divine, with your God, and to love God and recognize that the Christ, he showed us the way. And the way is not to believe in original sin. And I'm not going to argue with you. You can go suffer all you want. And I will delete ignoramuses that make stupid comments. I've got that power. But you can say all you want. I invoke and invite the like-minded souls and spirits to learn a thing or two from what I have to offer. So there you have it. There's a little bit of a discussion about the cross, a little bit of backstory of my childhood when I received divine information and knowledge and wisdom, and also a little bit of sneak peek about my art coming up, and a little bit of backgrounder on my books that I'm writing. And there is a movement I'm now gaining towards that goal because of the wonderful eclipse that we have coming up. Because in this life, if I were to die without that one good book coming out, and it would be a life that wasn't fulfilled. Do you have anything that you would like to actually accomplish that doesn't require special equipment outside of your own skill set and a few rudimentary things like a pen, pencil, computer, which is rudimentary nowadays? Yeah, I'm not talking about climbing Mount Everest because you got $40,000 lying around. All right, folks, thanks. Have a good one.